Please buy my condo. That's the theme for this week's market report. I have your latest numbers for the week ending October 18. My name is Santo Sessa with RE/MAX Premier. Glad to be back with you here. Those of you that are leaving comments, thank you. We appreciate them. Wow, some of you with the comments, though, I got to tell you, you're hating the market and everything that it's doing, and that's okay. Just remember, I'm giving you the numbers. I'm not making and producing what's happening out there. I'm just relaying to you what's actually happening in the field, in the GTA. Subscribe below. Hit the bell button so you're reminded when these new videos come up. Let's get started. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the Vaughan market, and I'm going to deal with the freehold properties, and then I'm going to talk about condos, and then I'm going to get into the city of Toronto. So not all the GTA, just the city of Toronto, freehold and condos. Okay, so looking at Vaughan. Now these aren't on a weekly basis, so you know things fluctuate on a weekly basis, prices, sales, everything. I don't want you to kind of take what happened that week as that's the market for all my decisions. Kind of look at overall trends. However, if we look at 1 week to the next, sales dropped by 2. Average sold price for the last few weeks has been dropping each week. And for week ending October 18, the average sold price of a Vaughan freehold property, so that's detached semis and towns, sold for $1,236,000. That's the average sold price. Looking back compared to where we were before we went into the lockdown, it's just slightly higher, 0.6%. So we're basically sitting at where we were pre-lockdown, and 2 properties sold at $2 million or more, which is a lot less than what it's been over the previous few weeks. Compared to last year's average sold price, well, there's been huge fluctuations. If we just look at last week's, we're 5.1% higher than where we were last year. Basically living under the health crisis that we're in, any gain is positive, but we've had some pretty big gains over the last few weeks, and 5.1% is decent. Compared to last year, we've bought just a few more as far as sales go than what we did last year. Now, the orange, those are 2020 sales. The blue, that's 2019 sales. And of the 58 that were sold last week, half of them, 51%, were sold at list price or more. So the market is pretty active. I can tell you personally, we listed a property the end of Wednesday last week. Saturday, we had 6 offers. We sold it way over asking. The sellers are thrilled, way more than they expected they were going to get for the home. Listings, we're listing far more properties than what were being listed last year. The market is very active in Vaughan for freehold properties, and months of inventory have been creeping up week after week, and for last week they were sitting at 2.7 months. Now the idea, the way it works, and is basically as months of inventory go up, prices tend to come down, and that's exactly what's happening here. And I'm so glad charts are working out the way they're expected to work out. But basically, months of inventory is our biggest indicator of the effects of supply and demand. How much are we buying? How much are available for sale? How quickly we're going to go through this inventory will determine which way prices are going, down or up. Looking at Vaughan condos. So you really got to look at this and think, well, there's only a few sales, so the numbers, they can be skewed one way or another very, very quickly. So just be careful how you predict these numbers. But sales have dropped by 1 from the previous week. Doesn't sound like a lot if we're selling hundreds, but we sold 7 the week before, we sold 6 last week. And 7 and 6 is lower than what it's been for a long time. And average sold price has dropped to $590,000 for the average condo that was purchased in the Vaughan area last week. Prices are lower by 4.5% from where they were pre-lockdown. Compared to last year, slightly lower, less than 1%. So we're sitting basically even to where we were last year's average sold price. And Vaughan condos have gone back and forth, higher than last year, lower than last year. So let's just kind of sum it up. Condo prices in Vaughan are basically where they were last year. Sales, much lower than where they were last year. Listings, much, much higher than where they were last year. Now, here's something to think about. You might think we're buying 6 a week. Last year we bought 6 during the week. We're listing 39. That's not the real story, buying 6 and listing 39. The real story is when we bought those 6 at the end of the week, there was actually 302 available condos in Vaughan for sale. So right at the end of the week, there's 302 available for sale. That's the important number, not the 39, the 302. But only 6 were purchased. Imagine what that does to months of inventory. There's tons of inventory out there to choose from. And months of inventory has jumped up again for another week in a row to 11.2 months of inventory. And that's putting a downward pressure on price. And we can expect we're very, very much in a buyer's market. Does that mean there's condos that won't sell in a day or two or won't sell in multiple offers? Of course not. If you price it properly and you market it properly, you can still get your condo sold. But if you are trying to squeeze as much as you can out of there and you're trying to maybe be priced higher than everybody else and you need to absolutely get a certain amount out of there and it doesn't jive to where prices should be, you're going to sit on the market for a long time. 11.2 months, that's close to a year. So some are going to be bought and sold right away in one day. Others are going to sit on the market for a year. And if that's the game you're playing as a seller, the risk is where a price is going to be in 6 months or a year from now. Nobody knows, but you're gambling that they're going to go up. Let's see what happens. Taking a look at the city of Toronto. This is just freehold properties. So, sales dropped quite a bit from one week to the other. We did 274 sales of freehold properties in the city of Toronto. Now, we're expecting prices to drop. As we kind of start to get closer to the winter, closer to the end of the year, we expect prices to drop. We expect sales to drop. They do every single year. The beginning of fall, we kind of call it in a real estate game our second spring. So things are pretty active right after Labor Day. Well, this year, the word pent-up demand has been used to describe everything. So we had a lull in sales here, then we had pent-up demand. Then, wow, sales are really good. Oh, must be pent-up demand. Wow, sales are still really good. Must be pent-up demand. I don't know, but sales are phenomenal. We're way higher than where we were last year, and that's incredible to say, the fact that we're in a health crisis. But the fact that sales are getting lower might just be normal business. So I'm not looking at this and having any alarm bells ring up. Average sold price shot way up. That's really something incredible to see there by almost $100,000 average sold price compared to where we were at the beginning of the lockdown. We're still much less. We're about 4.5% lower, and the amount of properties that sold at $2 million or more were less. So average sold price shot up, $2 million or more shot down. Kind of looks like prices are creeping up. Compared to last year, we're almost 20% higher when it comes to average sold price for the same week last year. Now last year, we'll call it a normal market. As we head towards the winter, average sold price tends to come down. That doesn't mean your home is worth less. It just means the larger homes come wintertime tend to come off the market. So it kind of brings the average sold price lower, usually in a normal market. Last year at this time, we sold 19 freehold properties in the city of Toronto, over $2 million. This week, This year we sold 39. So there's quite a bit of a difference there, and that helps to explain part of why average sold price is so much harder compared to what it was last year. Sales, we're a little bit higher. No huge alarming numbers, but we are consistently week after week higher than where we were last year by a little bit. And of these 274 that were sold last week, 57% were sold at list price or more. Last year at this time, it was only 40%. Listings, we're listing more properties than what we listed last year. We listed 718 freehold properties last week in Toronto. And months of inventory. This really helps to explain why prices are strong in the Toronto freehold market. Months of inventory are sitting very low. For last week at 1.5 months of inventory. You don't have a lot of time to decide which freehold property in Toronto you want to buy. You don't have a lot of choices. If you don't buy it and you're thinking about it, someone else is going to buy it before you make up your mind. They're going to pay asking price. They're going to pay more. There's going to be competitions. That's the freehold market right now in Toronto, as well in Vaughan, as well as across the GTA. That's the freehold market. It's competitive. Prices generally are going up or staying the same, but lots of activity. Very strong. Condo. This is a different story. I can explain to you why I'm calling this whole video, Please Buy My Condo. Okay, so we're looking at sales. Sales actually went up a little bit from one week to the next. The amount of condos purchased at $1 million or more dropped. Average sold price dropped a little bit to an average of $684,000. We are 3.7% lower average sold price than where we were before we went into the lockdown. Compared to last year, we are 1.5% lower in average sold price. Now, last year, we had 33 condos that sold at $1 million or more. This year, only 14. It's about half. That helps explain the average sold price a bit lower. But, we've been kind of pretty much a little bit higher week after week. So this week, it dropped a little bit. Okay, so let's look at sales. Here's where we really get into the real story, what's going on with the Toronto condo market. Orange is 2020, blue is 2019. Last week, we sold 197 condos. The year before, the same time, we sold 281. If you see the orange versus the blue, huge difference in numbers. So we are buying far less condos this year. There are still a third selling at list price or more. So these are the sellers pricing their condos properly. But we're buying 197. We're listing 1,034 a week. Way more. Every single week we're listing way more condos that are coming onto the market than were coming onto the market last year. So let me just go back, because the real story, 197 were purchased last week. If you think 1,034 new listings is a lot, the real number to focus on is how many were actually available for sale. These just got listed, but there were actually 5,834 active condo listings at the end of the week. So we bought 197 during the week. At the end of the week, there were over 5,800 available for sale. Lots of choice, lots of pressure, supply and demand. These forces are going to determine which way the price goes. And months of inventory is shooting way up there. We are in a balanced market with 6.6 months of inventory. Sellers can only hold on to prices so long. They've got their own personal financial struggles. They got their own situations, why they need to sell. Buyers also at the same time, They want to buy, but which price do they want to buy at? And the low interest rates are helping buyers to spend the money and buy the condos. But I got to tell you, 5,800 condos for sale. We're buying 200 a week. There's lots of stock out there. That's why I'm saying, if you're a condo seller, price it right, or you're going to be, please buy my condo. I hope you enjoyed this week's report. I hope you learned a little bit more watching this report than you knew before you watched this report. My name is Santo Sessa with Remax Premier. Please leave your comments below. Have an awesome week.